Okay, so I saw the Raid 2, or as it's also known, the Raid 2 Bernandal, which I believe means thug in Indonesian. I didn't get a chance to see this one in the theater because it wasn't playing here, but it was playing in the town where I went to go see the original film. I went to go see the original film in a bigger city. It's about an hour away, and I was able to see the first film on the big screen. I didn't. I wanted to see this one in the theater, but unfortunately, I didn't really have the time, and I didn't want to because I drive a fucking gas guzzler, and gas prices in California are through the fucking roof right now, and it costs roughly like $50 won't fill it up. The last time I filled it all the way up to the top, and then even more so, was like $84. So it's almost $100 for the gas, and I didn't want to waste it because I need the gas to last me as long as I can. So that's one of the reasons I didn't go. Plus the movie ticket to get down there. Just it just I wanted to go, but I just didn't have the time and I didn't want to spend money. So I waited and waited. Now I didn't wait for this to come out because I believe by the time I'm recording this, it hasn't been released yet on DVD. But I did find a great torrent over on Kick-Ass Torrents, and I found it. It had dual audio, so I was able to watch the dubbed version, and it's perfect quality and sound. Uh, so this movie got a lot of great reviews. And one thing that's for sure is that this movie didn't get good reviews for the reasons that people might think. This got great reviews because of the action. It's the same reason why the first one got such great reviews. But I don't think that a lot of people gave this movie so much praise because of the story or the characters. Now, some people, and even critics, might have enjoyed the plot and the characters. Me, unfortunately, the plot and the characters is where the film really suffers. And I can tell you right now that although there are things about this that I absolutely loved, and I'll get to what I really loved about this movie because it's a very uneven film for me. I'm not going to say that I hate the film because I feel that the good kind of outweighs the bad. I was going to say far, but I say kind of outweighs the bad. And it's still, I feel, I want to say worthy sequel, but a part of me doesn't really want to because I feel like that's giving it too much credit. I can tell you right now that I don't really care for the plot or for the characters. In the first film, you can get away with a mediocre plot and kind of generic characters, even in an action movie, because I really do, at least for me, is that if you can give me plenty of action and you can move at a quick enough pace, you can have mediocre to terrible actors, and I can kind of overlook that stuff, especially in a martial arts film, because when I watch a martial arts film, I come for one thing, that's to see fights, which this film does have, and I'll get to that, because it's the thing about this movie that I really loved. But the plot and the characters is where this film suffers. Okay. There's a lot of focus on them, and there's a great attempt to get you to really care about the main character, Iko Uwais' character Ranma from the first film. In the first film, I was fine with him. Iko Uwais, he's not really an actor. He doesn't really have a huge range of emotions. He's not, in the typical sense, he's not an actor. He doesn't show a lot of range, because there's two different types of actors. There's your standard actors. Those would be people that really get into a character. They show a wide range of emotions. They're really into the role. It's something they have sort of like a passion for. Then there's what I like to call the personalities. These are people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal, you wouldn't really call them great actors, even though I've seen moments where they do all right. But for the most part, can you really say that Steven Seagal and Chuck Norris were great actors? No, they weren't. They were personalities. They had great screen presence and they had charisma, and that's what they had to carry the film. And especially for Arnold, a lot of his movies were kind of written for him, I believe. And or at least like when he came on board, they were rewritten for him to suit his sort of acting ability. So that's why in a lot of his movies he's got a lot of one-liners, a lot of funny dialogue. They give him a lot of cool shit to do, and sometimes a great script can help any actor's shortcomings seem irrelevant because the script is so much fun that you can kind of look past that. And the Raid 1 kind of did that for Iko Uwais. The script didn't give him a whole lot of dialogue. It was just, here's this guy and here's what he can do. And that's also kind of the case with like Tony Jaa's movies. They don't really give him a whole lot of dialogue. He doesn't try to be an actor. It's just, okay, here's this guy, here's what he can do. This film, Gareth Evans, who I believe he wrote the script with someone else. I don't know who. I didn't research this before I started doing this video. I assume you have the internet. You can look it up for your fucking selves. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying. I'd like to think people aren't as lazy as I am. But he did sort of write this script just like he wrote the first one. In the first film, it was sort of a happy accident. He couldn't get the money that he wanted. He could only get about $1 million, so he had to rework the script because the Raid 2 was what he originally wanted to do with the Raid 1, but he couldn't get the money, so he had to improvise. So it was like a happy accident. So Raid 2 comes out. It's not what I would call a massive hit because it didn't get a wide release, but it gained enough attention that he was able to secure a bigger budget for the sequel. So he finally gets his chance to do what he originally wanted to do. Of course, he had to change some stuff to make it a sequel to the first film. But he tries to get you to really care about Iko Uwais' character, Ranma. He really does. But the problem is again, Iko Uwais is not really much of an actor. He doesn't show a wide range of emotions. He's not very charismatic. Doesn't have much of a personality in the film. His character is very paper thin. You're really only supposed to care about him because he's got a wife. He's got a kid because his wife was pregnant in the first film. And in the beginning of this film, his brother from the first film gets killed. He gets his head blown off with a shotgun. That's how the movie starts. He's I guess you could say, kind of the main villain of this movie. This guy with a gimp leg and a cane and glasses. He's the guy who kind of is. He's not in the movie a lot, but he's basically the villain of the movie. He's basically telling his brother that he's taking over and that he's done, and he kills Iko Uwais' brother. Just puts a shotgun to his head, blows his head off. That's how the movie starts. Shortly after the events of the film, you get the setup for the plot. The cops come in. They tell him that to weed out more police corruption, you have to go undercover. And to do that, we're going to say that you're dead and you can't see your family for a while. And no one's going to question it because you're just a rookie. Iko Uwais, of course, considering all the shit he's gone through, says no. But then he finds out his brother's dead. And he agrees. He gets arrested, he goes to jail, and that's where you get the setup for the plot. He has to basically become friends with this crime lord's son and infiltrate his gang and find out which cops are on the take. And it basically becomes a martial arts version of The Departed. And to be honest, The Departed is a much better film. Martin Scorsese practically wrote the book on this type of crime thriller. And the reason I like The Departed better is, even though this has more action, is because, well, I like Leonardo DiCaprio a lot more. I was more invested with his character. I cared more about his character, which is one of the reasons why the ending, although unexpected, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of the problems I have with the movie. But again, I was more invested with that character because I think Leonardo DiCaprio is a better actor. I was more invested with his character. here, and again, this movie feels very derivative of a bunch of stuff like The Departed, which The Departed itself was a remake of a Hong Kong movie called Infernal Affairs. It's just a very generic plot, which I won't even go into too many details. The gist of it is the guy with the glasses from the beginning with the gimp leg, I believe he's working with the triads, with the Chinese. He wants to take over all the crime in Indonesia, which is controlled by two people. The dad of the guy that Iko Uwais meets in prison, and the Japanese. They basically have Jakarta in Indonesia split in two. They basically control both of it. This guy with the glasses who's working with the Chinese triad basically says to the son of the guy that Iko Uwais became friends with in jail, basically says to him, join forces with me. We'll go to war with the Japanese. You take over for your dad, and we'll basically run the whole show. Which he agrees to. He kills his father, and they join forces. That's the gist of the plot. A lot more stuff happens. There's these really badass characters. These three assassins that you meet in the film. There's Hammer Girl, who is deaf, and she wears glasses the whole time. Why? Because she has a fucked up eye, which you find out later in the movie. And she fights with hammers. That's why I call her Hammer Girl. There's Baseball Man, who fights with baseballs and a baseball bat. He even kills a guy with a baseball. Just shoots it in the air, hits it, and then knocks this guy down. And then there's this other assassin, the third assassin, who fights with these knives that are like curved down like that. And he has a really awesome fight scene at the end with Iko Uwais, which I'll get to. And they're cool characters. They have really awesome fight scenes in the film. Hammer Girl fucks up these guys in a subway train. And here's the thing, too. This is a martial arts movie. So you will notice that almost everybody in this movie, no one has a gun. Everyone's fighting with either their fists or some other weapon. No one has a gun. It's a martial arts movie. You kind of have to let that go because they do that a lot in these type of films. No one carries a gun. Everybody just fights hand-to-hand or with a knife or something. So those three assassin characters are cool. They're not in the movie a whole lot, but when they're there, it's cool. Okay. Then you have this one character who is... He's basically the guy... He did the fight choreography for this film, and he also helped do the fight choreography for the original film. He's the Mad Dog character from the first movie. If you remember the guy that Iko Uwais and his brother fought at the end of the first movie, the guy that gets the fucking tube lighting, or the neon light, I should say, in his... or fluorescent light, whatever the fuck it is, the tube light thing in his neck, and that guy's in this. How is he in this movie? Well, he's a completely different character. I was going to make a joke about how they found a cure for getting your neck ripped open with a neon light, but it's not as funny as I thought it would be, so I'm not going to use it. Playing a different character. He's this machete guy, he fucks people up, cool fight. And there's this scene where he's talking to this woman who apparently is the mother. He's got a kid with her. He's giving her money. He says, I want to see my son. He's like, you don't deserve to see him because you're a murderer. It's like, I do everything I do for you. They're trying to get you to sort of care for him. I don't know why. I don't see the point. Why should we care about this guy? He's still a murdering scumbag. Yeah, he's doing it for the right reasons, but the movie's not about him. So I don't know what the point of that was. I didn't give a shit. And then 5 minutes after that scene, he gets into a fight. Another awesome fight inside this nightclub. Or he, like, one scene where, like, he hits this guy, I think, in the head with a bottle. It breaks, and then he starts fucking stabbing him in the neck over and over again. This movie is bloody. It is bloody, probably even bloodier than the first film. And unlike the first film, which they had to use CGI blood, this one, pretty much all the blood is practical. And there's a shitload of it. It is a fucking brutal, bloody movie. It puts, like, I know Expendables 3 is coming out. It's going to be PG-13. This movie, and the first one, the amount of violence in this film puts any, like, American action movie I've seen in the past couple years to shame. It is a really bloody movie. Probably not as bloody as, say, like, Kill Bill Volume 1. You're not going to see arterial spray or it's not like Fist of the North Star, the anime movie, where people's heads are blown up. But it's a really bloody film. And Gareth Evans kind of went out of his way to do everything practically this time. If there was some CGI blood, I didn't notice it. For the most part, it looked real to me. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was CGI and it just looked really good. I don't know. But it looked practical to me. So in that scene, you get a fight scene and he gets killed. The Mad Dog character from the first one, playing a different character. He gets killed. Okay. I'm not really going over the whole plot because there's really no point. Again, it's a really generic undercover cop infiltrates a crime gang. So I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. The stuff in prison, which is where the first couple half hour of the film takes place. When Iko Uwais is first put in prison, you have a decent little, a cool little fight because the fights start off kind of small. You get a small little fight where he's in this bathroom, and these guys are just for some reason attacking him, probably because he's the fresh meat in prison. And he stays in this room. It's this. You've seen the trailer where he's like getting attacked by a bunch of guys. He's fighting all these guys left and right, throwing them plays, basically holding his own. And that's where he gets the attention of the guy he's supposed to become friends with. Shortly, a little bit after that, where you get those scenes where he's punching the wall. I know people kind of thought that was stupid. I didn't mind that, where he's punching the wall, doing that stuff, because I thought, he was moving really fast, really showing his skill. But I know some people thought that looked stupid. I was fine with it in the movie, Shortly after that, you get the first really big fight of the film, and that is the mud scene, the mud fight, where just all these fucking people just collide with each other and start fighting, and people are getting shanked and stabbed, throats are getting ripped out, bones are getting snapped. Really well done. I really feel that although Gareth Evans, he's not what I would say a great writer, because he just rips off a bunch of stuff that we've seen from other films, and he doesn't really make the main character of Iko Uwais, of Ranma, doesn't make him very interesting. He's got no personality either. Like, he doesn't really have that much dialogue. But he excels at filming these fight scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on in this fight. It's a really big fight scene, and there's some really big fights in this movie. But you can kind of get a feel as to what's going on. He's always switching from one person getting like his throat ripped out to another guy getting kicked in the face, and the camera's constantly sort of moving around. It does kind of shake a little bit, but it doesn't cut away. It moves around. Like, it's shaking, but you can still see what's going on. It's kind of moving around. I like what he does with the camera in this film. And, in the first one as well. I could tell that this guy knew how to film action. Okay. And the action is where this film excels. That scene in the mud is really well done. And it goes on for quite a bit of time, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. I don't think any fight in this movie outstays its welcome. It doesn't go on and on and on, where you just sort of becomes tedious, which, rarely does that happen with me. Does a film's fight scene become tedious where I'm like, okay, can we just end this already? You smack your head up against the ground 3 fucking times. I think that's it. You're done. But no fight every fight feels long enough. Where this film does sort of drag is in the dialogue scenes. I can't remember a single one. I was barely paying attention whenever there wasn't a fight scene going on and the plot was kind of creeping in. I did not give a fuck. I didn't care. I really didn't, because you know where this is going to go. Eventually, shit's going to get real, and his cover, I guess, gets blown. No, it doesn't get blown. Just shit happens, and well, I'll get to the end in a second, because so you have that big fights in the mud is great, and Iko Uwais' character, he's in jail for like 2 years. He gets out, infiltrates the organization, and there's a lot of stuff in this movie that doesn't even involve him. Like, it doesn't involve the main character. It involves other characters, and it felt like he really wasn't in the movie a lot. Again, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention because I was zoning out. Because I really was glued. Every time there's a fight, like, I will say this right now. As far as the action in this movie is concerned, it is some of the best martial arts action I've seen, well, since the first film. I mean, it's phenomenal. I really do feel that this movie tops the original film. It tops it in one way, and that's in the action, because the action is insane in this movie. And once again, it puts the action in these American movies that have been coming out lately. It puts it to shame. It really does. So if you go into this film to see great action, bloody, R-rated, brutal fucking action, you will not be disappointed. That's why I'm not saying that the film was disappointing, because I went in there to see the action, and I got that. So in that sense, I wasn't disappointed. And I kind of knew going in that the plot and the character stuff wasn't going to interest me. Because because I heard other reviews, almost every review that I had seen was like, the action is good, but the character stuff is kind of, you know. So I knew that, and I knew that I said to myself, for me not to like this movie, there would have had to have been one fight scene that lasts 2 minutes, and the rest of the film is just talking. That's the only way I was gonna hate this movie, which I don't. I don't hate this movie, but it is not a perfect film. I can definitely say I like the original fuckload more, because it has a simple plot, it does one thing, and it moves at a quick pace. Plus, it's a much shorter movie. This movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. It is a long fucking movie. And there's plenty of action sprinkled throughout. But when there isn't action going on, the film just kind of drags. And I didn't care. And I feel that most people who go see this movie really won't care about that stuff because, well, like I said, it's generic. It's been done before. It's been done better. And the main character is just kind of there. He's nothing special about him. So you get to sort of the end when the shit sort of gets down. And, I've talked about the 3 assassins, which are cool characters. They don't do much, just in that scene where they go and they kill all these guys. And then you get the third act. The third act of the film, where you find out that this one guy that was a part of the same organization that Ranma was infiltrating was once a cop, but he kind of went off the deep end. He went rogue. He was in too deep, and he basically went rogue. And he basically tells Iko Uwaisa's character, he says, if you really want to stop these guys from coming after you and your family, you're going to have to kill them, because that's the only way they're going to let you go. So Ranma he basically calls his superiors, the people who sent him undercover. He says, look, find my family, look after them. Then he hangs up the phone, and then we get the third act, where the crime boss's son, the guy with the glasses and the gimp leg, and then this other crime boss are having dinner in this restaurant. And this third act is awesome. It's really fucking good. And it's a great fucking payoff. And it really does make the movie. Because here you get some really, really fucking awesome fight. Well, more, because the fight choreography throughout the rest of the film is really fucking good. Iko Uwais is driving in a car. You see that scene in the trailer. He drives through this warehouse, hits this one guy, and as he's on the car, hits the brakes. He goes flying into these shelves, hit it, goes back, hits another guy, slams him into a wall, and then the car's not moving anymore. He's forced to get out, and he just annihilates everybody. He's fucking people up left and right. Granted, they do attack one at a time, which they do a lot in martial arts movies, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And it's not realistic, but it's fine, because let's be honest, in real life, if you get attacked by 10 dudes, you're dead. Okay? Don't try and fight 10 guys at one time. Fucking run. That'd be the dumbest thing you could do, is stand and fight. No, run. Book it. And don't fucking look back. But it's no big deal. It's a fucking movie. Just fucking everybody up, left and right. And then you get this little 2-minute hallway fight where he fights two of the three assassins. He fights Hammer Girl and he fights Baseball Guy, and it's really well done, really quick choreography. He's fighting them both at the same time. Kills Hammer Girl, and during the fight he knocks her glasses off, and you see she's got a fucked up eye. That's why she's wearing glasses. Grabs her like with her arm like this, puts the hammer into her throat and yanks it out. Rips a hole in her fucking throat, blood squirts out, and then he finishes off Hammer Guy. He knocks him down, kicks him in the throat. He's like up against the wall, kicks him in the throat, and then he grabs the guy's baseball bat and fucking hits him in the face with it so hard that his face caves in and the baseball bat is stuck. Like, this is the baseball bat, and here's this guy's face. It's stuck like this. Right into his face, and then you see from like a distance he falls over sideways, and the baseball bat's hanging there. That's probably my favorite kill of the entire movie. It's just boom in his face. There's a baseball bat where his face used to be. Fucking awesome. Again, the violence in this movie does not disappoint. And then he walks into the kitchen of this restaurant, and then we get the best one-on-one fight, because I know in the first film you didn't have a one-on-one fight. It was a 2-on-1, two good guys against the bad guy. Here you get this is, I guess you could say this is basically the final fight. You get a one-on-one fight, and it's against the guy that has those curved knives, where like the handle's up here, the knives kind of curved down like that. They're kind of like for slashing. And that's where, in that scene in the trailer where they're kind of standing like this, and he puts his arm out, and they put their arms kind of locked like that for the stance. This fight is fucking awesome. Great fucking choreography, and it ends in a really bloody fucking way. They're fucking kicking each other, knocking each other through glass. Eventually, the guy pulls out his knives, and then Iko Uwais gets one. And when he kills him, he grabs his arm and he slashes him, boom, 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 right here, slashes him in the chest, in the stomach, and then finally, or he like stabs him in the stomach, and fucking, like, he's on the ground, right? Like, he's kneeling, and he fucking stabs him, picks him back up, pulls the knife out, and then stabs him in the neck, twists the knife, and then pulls it out. Blood squirts out. And he falls kind of like towards Iko Uwais. He lands on the guy's shoulder. He's like, get the fuck off me. He doesn't say that, but that's what I thought in my head. Get the fuck off me. It goes in to the restaurant where the three guys that I mentioned are in, and he kills these other two bodyguards. He fucking fish hooks one guy with that knife, sticks it in the guy's mouth, and then yanks it out like that. And then you get some shotgun action. The guy with the gimp leg with the glasses, he starts to shoot him with a shotgun. But the other guy, the guy that Ranma had to become friends with, to enter the gang. I forgot his name. It's Riza. It's Riza, R-E-Z-A. Riza. He gets another shotgun and shoots that guy in the leg, and then shoots him in the neck. And then he walks up to him and blows his head off. Literally, like, he shoots him and his head explodes. And it's practical because you see the fucking aftermath. You see... And he's trying to kill Ranma, Iko Uwais, but Iko Uwais is able to slash him up and stab him in the gut. Then Ranma goes downstairs, and then there's this big horde of Japanese crime people because they were there to kill those other guys that Ranma killed. And they say something to him. I don't know what they say because it's silent. You don't hear it. You just see the leader of the Japanese gang just talking. You see his lips moving, and that's it. And then it cuts back to Ranma, and he says, "No, I'm done." And then cut to black, the raid 2. And that's the end of the movie. And there's no awesome song at the end credits like in the first film. Instead, you get some fucking Indonesian guitar music, like that, like I don't know, some fucking Indonesian music. If you're from that part of the world, you'll probably love that. But if you're not, it sucks. which is one of the problems with the movie. The score is unmemorable. It's barely in the movie. The movie barely has a score, but when it's there, it's forgettable. I don't even remember it. Um, so, like I said, this movie, it's not disappointing as an action film because in the action department it delivers. The third act is awesome. It's amazing, really fucking well done. And the final fight, like I said, between Iko Uwais and that assassin with the knives, just perfect. I fucking love that. The last 30 minutes of the movie were great. I loved it. But um, like I said, if you're going into this movie for great characters and a great plot, you're going to be severely disappointed. But if you're just there to see the action like I am, you will be satisfied. Very much. At the end of the day, am I mad that I didn't see this in the theater? No, because it's too fucking long. I would have been fine with the plot and the character and the kind of weak main character if this movie was about as long as the first one, but it's not. It's nearly 3 hours long. It's 2.5 fucking hours, and it drags in spots. And you're just sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I feel most people who watch this movie do the same thing. Will be like, okay, when's the next fucking fight scene? Come on, fuck this shit. I don't care. But when the fight scenes finally show up, they're worth the fucking wait. I stand by that. Is this one of my favorite films of the year? Because The Raid 1 was my favorite film of 2012. No, this is not. It's not high on the list. I would still put this as one of my favorite films, but this is like at number 11. And if I see another movie that comes out this year that I like, it's going to get bumped up to number 12. And, would I buy this film? Yeah, to have it. I feel like if I do rewatch this film again, I am going to end up probably fast forwarding through most of it just to see the fights. And I would say, if you can find all the fight scenes in this film, like on YouTube or something, like all the fight scenes complete, like you have this beginning fight, mud fight, train, subway fight, the final battles, just watch that. And just don't bother with the story stuff. Don't bother with them. Just watch those fight scenes because those fight scenes make this movie. And Gareth Evans, stop writing your fucking scripts. Either make your movie shorter and stop trying to be this great director that's trying to, and just focus on on action. Just direct your scripts and keep directing them well, keep making them this bloody and this brutal, and you're good to go. But, if you're going to keep writing these really long movies, and maybe down the road they start getting longer and there's going to be less action and more of this boring, generic plot stuff that I don't care about, then we're going to have a problem. And I don't want to have a problem with Gareth Evans because the guy can direct action really fucking well. So, that would be my recommendation. Just if you can find all the fight scenes without having to see the whole movie, just do that. Or if you're going to watch this movie, just, if you can get it like on a download, just skip through the story and watch the fights. And you're done. It'll be over in like 30 minutes. So anyway, that's sort of my impromptu review of The Raid 2. Great action, but lame generic plot. The main character is kind of just there, but the action is fucking phenomenal. The action in this movie is great, but as far as the whole movie is concerned, it is a weaker film than the first one. I can definitely say I like the first one a lot more, simply because it moves at a faster pace. In terms of action, yeah, here the action sequences are much at a higher level. But it's just the pace and all that, the character and story stuff, it just brings the movie down to where I got to put it below the first one. And that's it. That's all I got. See ya.